although I love what they did at the end, it's a little suspicious, man. This game was a little suspicious. All right, that Fever organization, that Fever coaching staff, look like they had on some Captain D's uniforms, man. It's a little fishy over there, all right? How did Aliyah Boston play 38 minutes tonight, fam? 38 minutes? She was just hurt. She was just hurt. How did she play 38 minutes? She had
38 minutes. Logged the same night her name sat on the injury report as probable with a leg issue. In a game, Indiana was never supposed to need her for that long to win.
They'll be doing that, but man, what a finish. What a finish, dog. Man, that fourth quarter was crazy, all right? I mean, they were down 10, right? Had that 10-point deficit. Then you had Sophie hit a transition three, big three from Sophie. Then KK jumping out of the gym, looking like LeBron James pinning
Here's what actually happened on the floor. The Fever walked into Phoenix Thursday night, fell behind by 10 points in the fourth quarter, and looked for a stretch like they were headed to a road loss against a Mercury team with plenty of size and shooting. Then Indiana ripped off an 11-0 run. The lead changed hands 5 separate times in the final 45 seconds, and Kelsey Mitchell put it away with a finger roll layup with just 10.1 seconds on the clock. Final score 92-89, a road win against a divisional opponent Indiana needs in the standings. That part of the story is simple: a gutsy comeback, a superstar closing it out. The part that's actually worth unpacking is everything that had to happen underneath that scoreline for Indiana to even be in position to win it.
Shot to the glass. I mean, pinned it better than an iPhone pinning its location. Like what in the world, man? Goodness. Then here come Kelsey Mitchell knocking down her three. Hey, big lay at the end, Kelsey. Big lay at the end. I got to give you props on that. I was scared for a minute because, I think you're a great player, but when it comes to closing, oh my goodness, man, I'd be scared.
Mitchell finished the night with 29 points and 8 assists, and the headline number hides how she got there. She was cold for most of the first 3 quarters, then caught fire exactly when Phoenix started sagging off of her to help elsewhere, hitting back-to-back threes and pull-ups that flipped the entire fourth quarter. That's what a number 1 option is supposed to do when the game gets tight. But watch what Aliyah Boston did a possession later. A tough turnaround fadeaway, working with her back to the basket against Alyssa Thomas, one of the best two-way forwards anywhere in the league. Boston doesn't usually live in that spot on the floor. Tonight she did, over and over, and that single possession tells you more about Indiana's game plan than anything in the box score. It's the kind of small, specific wrinkle that gets completely lost under a highlight reel unless you're actually looking for it.
I'd be scared, man, but shout out to her knocking down a tough bucket. Aliyah Boston with a little turnaround fade away on Alyssa Thomas. Hey, get this in your eyeballs. Oh, I see you, AB.
That's not an accident. Boston is built as a face-up shooter this season, comfortable at the elbow, comfortable stepping out to 3. Putting her on Alyssa Thomas's back in the post is a specific, deliberate matchup decision, not something a coaching staff does by default. Somebody on Indiana's bench decided Boston's size mattered more than her range tonight, and that decision worked. It also happened to come on a night Boston was dealing with a lower leg issue serious enough to show up on the team's own injury report. Keep that detail in your back pocket. It's going to matter again before this video is over.
Oh, shooting well, 10 points, 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from the 3. Man, why are you looking like this when Caitlin is not on the floor? Y'all couldn't make a thing last night. I mean, my goodness, couldn't throw a rock in the ocean, couldn't hit the side of a barn. Like, where was this in the last game? Now all of a sudden y'all piped up. Y'all ready to kick some tail now, huh? I guess it's your rival, right? You got Mercury and Alyssa Thomas, DB. Y'all.
Caitlin Clark wasn't on the floor for any of this, and that absence isn't a mystery. It's a paper trail you can actually follow. Clark hurt her back on June 24th in an earlier meeting against this same Phoenix team, coming down awkwardly on Mercury forward Valeriane Ayayi's foot during a second quarter closeout. She stayed in for a while, got pulled in the third quarter, and ended up missing more than a week. Head coach Stephanie White was blunt afterward about how physically Clark had been guarded that night, and made it clear she wasn't happy with how the officials let it go. Clark came back this past Wednesday against the Sparks, looked understandably rusty at 4 for 12 from the field, and admitted afterward she was just trying to get through the game clean. So for Thursday's back-to-back finale in Phoenix, Indiana simply listed her as out for rest. Not a new injury, not a setback, just a team being careful with its franchise player after a rough stretch. That's the responsible, unglamorous explanation, and it's also the reason 29 of Indiana's 92 points had to come from somewhere else. There's also an old rivalry running underneath all of this. One that has nothing to do with Clark and everything to do with a player who used to wear a Mercury jersey herself. We'll get there. First, the box score still has more to give up.
Shout out to y'all, man. I'm not even mad, man. Ty, that lady was hooping. All right, that lady was hooping, dog. Pulling three. Look, 3 for 4 from the three. Who you feeling like, Ty? Who you feeling like? 6 for 8 from the field, 15 points, 5 assists with 1 TO and 2 steals and a block 2, 1 board. I mean, my goodness. Now, another thing that I was scratching my head about, Aliyah Boston, she wasn't a hub at the top of the key. Hold on now. She was in that paint. She was in that paint tonight. I'm just saying.
Tyasha Harris is the name that gets buried under Mitchell's total, and she shouldn't be. 15 points, but 9 of them came in the final 4 minutes, exactly when Phoenix was betting that nobody but Mitchell could hurt them. Harris made that bet expensive. This isn't new for her either. Every time Clark has missed time this year, Harris is the guard Indiana trusts to slide into the starting lineup, and she has quietly turned herself into one of the more important insurance policies on this entire roster. And Boston kept doing the thing from a few minutes ago, working almost entirely out of the post instead of popping to the perimeter like she usually does across a normal Fever possession. If you've watched Indiana all season, that shift should stand out to you immediately, not because there's anything shady about it, but because it's a real, in-game adjustment, and real adjustments in the fourth quarter of a one-possession game usually mean a coaching staff found something in the film that they trusted enough to lean on.
Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. They pulled out the win, but it do look a little crazy when Caitlin's not on that floor, man. It look like they're spacing the floor better. I mean, it's just crazy work what I'm saying. But Kelsey Mitchell, 29 points, 10 for 22 from the field, 3 for 6 from the three. I mean, they look like a totally, completely different team tonight. I mean, it was beautiful.
29 points, 10 of 22 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Put those numbers next to a completely different-looking offense in the fourth quarter, and you get a team playing with an edge that goes beyond just wanting a win on the road. And that edge has a specific origin. It starts with Sophie Cunningham, who only ended up in an Indiana uniform because of a massive 4-team trade back in February of 2025 that also involved Dallas and Connecticut. Before that trade, Cunningham had spent all 6 of her WNBA seasons in Phoenix, made a finals trip in 2021, and by her own account cried for an entire day once the reality of leaving actually hit her. Every time these two teams play now, it is not a neutral matchup for her, and she has said as much herself, on the record, more than once.
I'm like, dog, man, we needed this last night. What was this last night? What was this? And like I said, man, you telling me AB couldn't play last night? She turned around and dang near played a full game. She couldn't play last night? Oh, please don't tell me y'all did my girl Cece like that, man. Please don't tell me y'all did her like that. Because I know for a fact, if AB was out there last night, they were winning that game, dog. They were winning that game. Did you see how AB looked tonight? Did you see how she looked tonight?
The clearest proof of that came in an earlier meeting between these two teams back in June. DeWanna Bonner, who now plays for Phoenix, but actually spent part of last season on the Fever before Indiana released her, got tangled up with Clark on a foul call. The referees hit Clark with a technical. Bonner didn't get one. Cunningham stood up on the bench and pointed directly at Bonner for close to 20 seconds straight before she was finally walked back to her seat. The clip went viral within hours and turned into one of the most talked about moments of Indiana's entire season. A few weeks after that, on her own podcast, Cunningham said people still inside the Mercury building had told her flat out that nobody on that roster actually likes playing there this year, calling it, in her words, the unfriendliest group. Phoenix hasn't responded to that publicly, and a team sitting at 8 and 15 with this much individual talent on the roster isn't exactly in a strong position to argue the point for free.
AB, 21 points, 9 for 16 from the field, 3 for 5 from the three. She was icing them, dog. Bang, bang. How many you want? How many you want, man? I said, dang, AB looking good, man. And y'all got her number 8. The players ranking her number 8. Man, y'all crazy, dog. Y'all look crazy. That girl was getting big buckets in the paint and putting it in your eyeballs at the 3. Stop it, talking about 8. Man, she's not under anybody else but Asia Wilson. I don't care what you say, man.
Now put the history aside and look at what Boston actually did with the ball tonight. 21 points on 9 of 16 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, 9 rebounds, and only 1 turnover across the entire game. She missed Indiana's previous outing entirely. Before tonight, the honest question in that locker room was whether she'd be sharp enough, physically or rhythm-wise, to carry this kind of offensive load again right away. She answered it in the first half. She's also spent most of this season getting doubted publicly about whether she's really a stretch 4 who can space the floor or just a traditional back-to-the-basket big. On a night Indiana needed points from anywhere it could find them, she scored from both areas people argue about, in the same game against a good defense. Fans on both sides have spent weeks arguing over which version of Boston is the real one. Tonight didn't settle that argument so much as it proved both versions can show up in the same 40 minutes, which is arguably a better answer than picking just one.
1 steal, 1 block. Come on, dog. Out here cooking. Monique, 2 points. She didn't really do too much tonight. 2 boards, 1 turnover. Yeah, she was kind of quiet. But Sophie Cunningham, 9 points off the bench, 2 for 7 from the field, 1 for 5 from the 3. Not the best from the 3, not the best from the field, but she was giving me some extra stuff out there, man.
Around her, the role players did the unglamorous work that doesn't always make the highlight reel. Extra boards, hustle plays, out of bounds. The kind of stats that don't show up on a stat sheet until you actually go looking for them. That kind of effort matters more in a 3-point road win than almost anything else in the box score. Meanwhile, on the other side of the floor, Phoenix's stars were doing plenty of scoring of their own. This was not a Mercury team that no-showed in its own building.
Oh! Bang! Bro, KK came from the other side of the rim, under the rim, and pinned the thing to the glass, man. Oh my goodness, that is embarrassing. K-Cop, that's embarrassing, dog. How you... Hey, man, shout out to KK. KK leaping out the gym with it, man. This was nasty. Ugh.
Monique Akoa-Makani came off the bench for 14 points on one of the better shooting nights of her season, and Kalia Copper matched Alyssa Thomas for the team lead with 22 points apiece, including a highlight finish at the rim that is going to get reposted 100 times by morning. That's the frustrating part for Phoenix fans watching this. The talent is obviously there. Phoenix rebuilt this entire roster around exactly this kind of talent, bringing in Thomas and other proven veterans specifically to contend right away. A roster built with that much intention shouldn't be sitting at 8 wins and 15 losses in a season this competitive. Cunningham's comment about the locker room culture doesn't prove anything about talent or effort on the floor tonight. But it does help explain why a team this talented keeps finding new ways to lose fourth quarters it's led, and why a 3-point loss like this one is going to sting a lot longer in that building than it will in Indiana's.
That might be the highlight of the night. Look at Sophie with this big 3, man. That was a huge 3 to start digging into that deficit, man. 72-79 in the fourth quarter. Sophie was stepping up big time. Ty was stepping up big time. Hey, AB, I see what type of shots you need at the 3. When you get those standstill, you get that standstill and pull up like that. Hey.
Now, back to the number that opened this video. 38 minutes from a player the Fever's own injury report listed as probable with a lower leg issue heading into the night. Here's what that word actually means in a WNBA injury report. Probable is the lowest level of real concern on the league's own reporting scale, one step above not being listed at all, and it means a player is expected to play barring something unexpected in warm-ups. Head coach Stephanie White had a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter, her best interior scorer cleared and available, and her actual franchise player, Clark, already sitting out for the night on planned rest. She used the player she had. That is a coach making the obvious call under real pressure, not a hidden story someone is trying to bury. The uncomfortable part isn't that Boston played through a probable designation for 38 minutes and delivered. It's that Indiana keeps having to make that exact call night after night because the depth behind their three best players gets thinner every time somebody else goes down.
Man, I just need them to figure out how to get this going with Caitlin Clark, man. I know the system doesn't really fit how Caitlin plays, and that's the biggest thing. That's really the biggest thing, man. It don't really fit how Caitlin plays, and she's trying to fit within it. She's doing her own thing. People call it going rogue, but she turns into the star and does her own thing. She calls her own number and start creating.
Which brings this all the way back to Clark. Because this is genuinely the biggest open question hanging over Indiana's entire season. She hurt her back against this same Mercury team on June 24th, missed more than a week, came back rusty against the Sparks, and then sat out again just 2 days later on pure precaution. In the games she actually plays this season, she's averaging 21.2 points and 8.2 assists, tied for third in scoring and second in assists across the entire league. Those are legitimate MVP-level numbers, and by most accounts, she's actually playing better basketball than she did a year ago. The difference is availability. Last season's issue was one serious injury. This season has been a string of smaller ones that keep interrupting her rhythm right when she gets rolling, which is arguably a harder problem for a training staff to solve than a single bad break. And Indiana just won a divisional road game by running an offense built around Mitchell, Harris, and Boston instead of around her. That doesn't mean the Fever are secretly better without their franchise player. Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston both just signed long-term deals to stay in Indiana specifically because the front office is committed to building around all three of these players together, not around one of them replacing another. What it means is that Indiana's base offense, the one that doesn't depend on Clark drawing two defenders and organizing every possession from the point, has now proven twice in 3 weeks that it can win a game on its own. The real test isn't whether that offense can win without her, it's whether it can fold her back in without losing what just made it work in Phoenix.
So, Stephanie, figure it out, man. Figure it out. Come on, man. Figure it out. It doesn't make sense that this team look so fluid. The offense look good. Everybody is clicking when Caitlin is off the floor. It don't seem right to me, man. It don't seem right to me. I know it can happen with Caitlin on the floor too. Come on now. Come on now. Make it work. Make it work, man.
So here's where that actually leaves Indiana heading into the rest of this season. The win moves them to 12-9, third in the conference, and it comes right before the toughest measuring stick on their schedule. Indiana travels to Las Vegas this weekend to face an Aces team sitting at 15-6, the best record in the league. A statement road win over Phoenix is one thing. Doing it again against the Aces, with or without Clark, is a completely different test. A franchise player still working her way back from a back injury that's already cost her multiple games this year. A co-star in Boston who just proved she can carry heavy, probable designated minutes when the situation demands it. And a rivalry with Phoenix that clearly isn't cooling off anytime soon, no matter what the standings say. The real test isn't tonight, it's whichever game Clark walks back into next, and whether this same offense that just won without her can actually make room for her without losing what worked. So which is it for you? Was this the Fever proving they don't need Clark to win the tough ones? Or proving exactly why they need her back healthy as fast as possible? Say your answer in the comments, hit like if you want the next recap the moment it happens, and subscribe so you don't miss it.